there seemed to be far less people in both ends, but more down the side.
Yeah, I mean the Warrington fans in the Anfield Road end really made a difference on the Saturday, didn't they? For that end being full, it was probably the smallest contingent of Castleford fans I've ever seen at a Magic weekend.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like I said, there was a lot of Leeds fans around me where Wigan fans were the day before.
Right.
So I don't know if most of the Leeds fans had chosen the side stand, the main stand option. I'm not sure. And one of the other things that it seemed to be is certainly more than any other group of fans, Salford and St Helens fans both opted to go really far back in the Kop. Like at the start of the Salford game, there was a group of Salford fans singing.
Yeah.
Just before kickoff, and then when I looked back up during the game, it seemed to move 20 rows back.
I think rain started, I think, at that point.
Right.
Because we
reasonable explanation.
Yeah, somebody actually put on Facebook about how disgusting it was how few Salford fans were there, which I thought was interesting because from my perspective, there were actually a lot of Salford fans there, more than I was expecting, and they were in really good voice.
I agree. Yeah.
And for those Salford fans that I told about SLP, if you're listening now, it was good to sit in front of you.
I genuinely think there was as many Salford fans there as Castleford fans.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong on that. But I agree. I could see a lot of Salford fans, but they kept moving back up further up the stand. Maybe the rain was a factor in that. And then the St Helens fans were all right at the back, so you couldn't necessarily see them as much as you could the day before when the Hull fans and the Wakefield fans had kind of taken a half of the stand each, lower down sort of thing. Of course, the Hull fans in great numbers again, and it was a shame that you were let down. So we'll get to the games. I think that's. Shall we get to the games?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the games.
Let's do it. The action on the field, because it was actually quite an exciting weekend with 4 close games to talk about, and the first of those was Game 1, which was Wakefield Trinity versus the Catalan Dragons. It was 12-0 to the Catalans at half-time, and they ended up winning 25 points to 18 with a very late try, making it that 7-point margin. Scott Mikalauskas was the referee in this one. In terms of the stats, Catalan had more meters, more breaks, more busts, more offloads, and a better tackle success rate. They may have won by even more if they didn't also make more errors, concede more penalties than Wakefield did. Individually, Lewis Tierney had 134 metres and 2 clean breaks. Sam Mower had 117 metres. Matt Whitley made 50 tackles, 10 of which were marker tackles, and Alrix da Costa made 46 tackles, 11 of which were marker tackles. For the losing Trinity side, Mason Caton Brown, the electric-heeled Mason Caton Brown, had 115 metres and 2 clean breaks. Reece Lynn, 129 metres. Kyle Wood scored a try and 40 tackles as well, so went both ways, as did Danny Kermond with a try and 41 tackles. Do you want to start with the first of the fan reviews?
Yep. Dr. Hideous says, I don't think either team wanted to start this. And when Catalan scored, it was almost with an, oh, I suppose so if I must. Wakey exploded into the second half but couldn't keep it up. Catalans pegged back their early second half flurry of tries, and Ben Jones Bishop's equaliser never felt like enough. Fafita needs to have words with his hairdresser.
I think Fafita deliberately has shit hair so that people talk about him.
Yeah.
St David says, very good opening to Magic. The proverbial game of two halves, with Catalan dominating the first 40 and Wakefield the second. Catalans just about deserved it, but Wakefield's first and third tries were beauties.
Malcolm Matios said, no Barca bad karma, win at Camp Nou and then win at Anfield. Short pitch karma strikes again. RL fails to get the full length again.
Yeah, it's not, you're not going to get a full length pitch inside there, unfortunately. It actually looked quite narrow as well. But there was enough space for some long range tries in this game at least. Tom Andrews, probably before he was too drunk to know what was going on, said, enjoyable game to start the weekend. Thought Golden Point was imminent. Catalans deserved winners.
Yep, Carson said Catalans dominated the first half but didn't make enough of their possession and field position. Wakey came back strong in the second half and made it a really close game to open the festivities at Anfield.
Mark Butler said, Magic Weekend Game 1 seems to be where they hide games that they have no expectations for, but this turned out to be enjoyable. Despite heavy competition from Hull, Catalans are still the kings of being capable of anything, good or bad, so it wasn't surprising that they chucked away a hard-won advantage with such speed in the second half, but they seem to have more steel these days. McNamara rebuilding his reputation? Question mark.
And Paul O'Brien, POB 1976, said, a good first half from Catalans before a second half comeback from Wakefield. Drop goal from Catalan gave them the edge before they closed the game down with a final try. Catalans probably just deserving the win.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to answer Mark's question about McNamara? Do you think, a Challenge Cup win, and then the last few weeks on the big stage, his Catalan side have delivered wins?
Yeah, it's a shame that, Thursday they'll lose the cup. But Joshua told him that they were only looking after it for a year, so I'm trusting my son. I think he has done a lot to rebuild his reputation. I mean, as you say, winning the cup like they did, and they're travelling away better now, aren't they?
Yeah, they've won some games in England this year now, and certainly no one's talking about them having an issue on the road until the next time they lose on the road, I suppose. But, I mean, in the first half, 12-0 actually flattered Wakefield, I thought. Catalans were in control at that stage, and it was hard to see where Wakefield were going to create anything from, even though they had some creative players out there.
Definitely, yeah. They were good value for it, more than good value for it, really, weren't they?
But then Wakefield came out and scored some crackers. I mean, that Kyle Wood try. We could talk about that try and one of the Catalans tries. That there was clear forward passes involved. But let's just celebrate the execution of skill to score the tries. But after the loopy pass out to Mason Caton-Brown, that was a thing of wonder. That try.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I can't remember the other try Ben Jones Bishop's try was a very good move, actually, wasn't it? That he finished it off as well to make it 18-all with 12 minutes left.
Yeah, and I wondered if that would just give Wakefield the what's the word I think of?
Momentum.
That's the word I'm thinking of. Yeah, the momentum. Whether the momentum was with them, but clearly not.
No, I agree. You sort of did feel like Wakefield had definitely been the better team for most of that second half, and then David Fafita got injured, kind of.
Yeah.
Right under the sticks, right at your end, weren't it? And
it was, yeah. And a seemingly sort of innocuous tackle. I couldn't see anything wrong with it at all. It was just obviously how he landed or something.
Yeah, I think it was just a big bloke came in, and the one big bloke ended up landing on top of another big bloke, sort of thing, didn't it? And it became quite awkward. But we both sort of thought he was trying to play on, which looked impossible. Yeah,
he sort of put his foot down to go into the scrum, and then it was like, no, I can't move.
No, you noticed something that was really that we've never really seen before, and well, I'm struggling for words because I don't know why we haven't really seen this before, but you noticed something when he came off.
What, they came off on his crutches?
Yeah.
Yeah, and why doesn't that happen more often?
It must be much easier for them to travel around the rest of the pitch on crutches than sort of with one really short physio and one really burly physio.
But also, like, the physios never look like they've got a chance of like actually providing any help at all with these, massive these massive prop forwards that probably weigh twice as much as both of them put together.
Exactly, yeah. It does remind me that this was the first opportunity in the game that I saw one of my favourite recurring themes of the weekend, which was the stretcher men wanting their chance to shine and then realising probably by the end of the weekend that they were at rugby league, and players don't get carried off at rugby league unless they've really blown out a leg. Or totally sparked out, and every time there was a player down, they'd all get around the stretcher, get ready to run on with it, and then have to go back to the seats because the player walked off or was assisted off by crutches or otherwise, because rugby league players are tough.
Yeah, but the good news is he appears to have been given the all clear.
Shocking.
Yeah. I was looking on Twitter yesterday, and he Saturday night he'd posted a thing, thanks for all your well wishes, waiting for the scan, and it sounds like he woke up and everything was okay.
Well, like I said about the haircut and the pink shorts and things like that, he likes to be the centre of attention, doesn't he? Maybe he's so used to being second fiddle to his more talented, more internationally esteemed brother that he's taking it where he can this year with the sterling performances that he's having in the Super League.
Not that I'd say that to his face.
Oh, well, my Uncle Liam got to speak to him to his face, because after going off the pitch on crutches, he then hobbled up the steps towards the bit where we were sat on crutches. So yeah, my Uncle Liam said that, like, bit of a long way to go on crutches, and he said some expletive back in an Aussie accent that I can't do. I'm even worse at the Aussie accent than my uncle was, so we'll not try that one. Star players then in this one. For me, probably Tony Gigo. I mean, he did pass up what looked like a really easy one-pointer, only for a couple of minutes later to do like a much tougher one from about 25 metres further away from the sticks.
Yep.
But it looked good. And he was involved in most of the threatening stuff that Catalans did, I thought, in this game. So I'd probably edge with Gigo. Do you have anyone different that you pick out?
I don't think so. Was it just me, or did it look very odd seeing Junior Sow in a Wakefield shirt?
Yes. Totally. I mean, because you can't miss him.
No, it just looks so wrong.
If we're talking about haircuts.
Yeah.
I do think... It was weird. I do think the Catalan starting pack were all decent, but it was hard to pick out one individually over the other. In fact, the ones off the bench were good too, but it was hard to pick on one over the others maybe. But I do think that'll be a tough thing for you guys to match up to on Thursday night if they're in that sort of form again.
Yeah, but it depends which Hull FC turn up.
Did you pick out any? Well, 60 points for or 60 points against, there's going to be points.
Yeah, true.
Did you pick out any of the tries as especially, the good try? I think you had all the better tries tended to be running at your end. The Catalans ones in the first half that were better than the ones they scored in the second half, and the Wakefield tries. So were any?
I think. No, I mean, I think I liked the Wakefield tries, the finishes, but yeah, they were. Yeah, there's nothing that massively stood out.
It was just that Wakefield try just after half time, just the electrifying pace from Maitland Caton Brown, who actually took on his wing around the wing around the outside. The actual stuff after that was fairly routine, weren't it, for Kyle Wood to score?
Yeah.
But that moment I think that was the first moment of the weekend that had all of the stadium like excited and applauding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair dues. Right, shall we talk about the second game, or shall we skip it and talk about the third game, or shall we skip them both and talk about...
Should we call that done?
No, I'm afraid you're going to have to take us through the second game for the listeners, because lots of them have got in touch with their thoughts.
Very kind of them. So the second game was Hull FC 2, Huddersfield 55. And at half-time it was also Hull FC 2, but Huddersfield 21. And Liam Moore was the referee. And, he wasn't as incompetent as he had been last time we had him, so that's a positive.
He didn't have to do a lot, did he?
Not really, no. So the stats: Hull made under 800 metres. Huddersfield had over 500 more metres and 8 more breaks than Hull. That led to their 10-try-to-none victory. Individually, Jerry McGilvray scored 2 tries, 1 try assist, and made 147 metres. Akumatai with 6 tackle busts and 124 metres. Michael Lawrence with 114 metres. Adam O'Brien with 2 tries, 7 tackle busts, and 3 clean breaks. And for the losers, the substitute, Sika Manu, made 5 tackle busts and 103 metres.
Hey, at least you got one on. We've had plenty of games recently where people might not have made it. So Sika Manu stood up for your side. And in terms of the fan reviews, Paul O'Brien, POB1976 is his Twitter handle. Huddersfield far too good for Hull. Hull not at their best and looked void of ideas. A great result for the Giants. And
then Dr. Hideous shed some light on what actually happened. He says the entire Hull squad was hospitalised in a strange accident involving a box of chihuahuas at Hatmate vodka from Wollongong called Derek and a small lemon. West Wales Raiders answered the RFL's call and stepped in to fill the gap in the schedule and did a very creditable job, keeping a Super League team to less than 60 points. Frankly, Huddersfield should be ashamed they couldn't put 100 on them. Quite rightly so, Dave.
Tom Andrews said, full of drama, got accepted by Huddersfield fans, offered an engagement ring back, in brackets worth a few months' rent, and Paige popped my thunder sticks.